Welcome back. When President Trump spoke to Ukraine's President Zelensky in that infamous July 25th phone call, one of the favors he requested involved a cybersecurity firm called Crowdstrike. Crowdstrike was hired in 2016 to look into the hacking of the Democratic National Committee's computer server and determined that Russia was responsible. Mr. Trump has since suggested that Crowdstrike is a Ukrainian-owned company that has spirited this server to Ukraine, all in the service of claiming that it was Ukraine, not Russia, that interfered in the 2016 election. The claim itself has no basis in fact. Clint Watts is a security analyst and the author of Messing with the Enemy, and he's going to help us understand how unfounded allegations like this spread. Clint, good to see you, sir.
Thanks for having me.
So we're calling this the anatomy of a lie. All successful lies begin with a kernel of truth, and here's kernel of truth number one. Simply, Crowdstrike hired to investigate DNC server hack. Very quickly, why Crowdstrike and not the FBI in something like this?
Crowdstrike is a cybersecurity company, one of the best in the world and one of the best for America. And they routinely work for groups like the DNC and many large United States companies and even international companies. And they have great cyber forensics and the ability to investigate and determine attribution. Yeah. They're also a resource for our defense, our U.S. intelligence community, Department of Defense. They would all rely on a company like this.
And for about 6 months, this was taken as stated fact. Okay, Crowdstrike, got it. Russian hack. Let's move on to the next one, though. By the spring of 17, this is the first time that the president started to question Crowdstrike. He had tweeted something, an AP reporter asked, Crowdstrike, why'd you bring up Crowdstrike? And he goes, oh, that's what I've heard. I heard it's owned by a very rich Ukrainian. This is not true. But how do we get to the seed of doubt here?
What we saw in the first part was you take a fact and use a fact to propel the lie. This is essentially how you make that falsehood move to where you want it to be. The answer, the story that they want out there is that Ukraine meddled in the election. There's also other entities that want that story too. Places like Russia, where Crowdstrike is one of the biggest defensive measures that we have around the world against Russian cyber attacks and aggression.
All right, take a look at this date. This is April of 2017. Now let's go to the next slide that we have here. This is President Trump last month in November on Fox and Friends, where essentially he starts to put it all together. The Democrats, they gave the server to Crowdstrike. It's a very wealthy Ukrainian. It's a Ukrainian company. That's what the word is. 2.5 years later, he's still perpetuating this. And they even asked, well, you know, there's not a lot of truth to this, but he says it anyway.
Yeah, so if you want to propel your lie, just keep issuing falsehoods. The truth has one voice, but lies are infinite. You can continue to make more and more lies, which then wears out anybody trying to rebut them.
Okay, the president says these things and it gets covered. Donald Trump 10 years ago, this doesn't get covered.
That's right. Yeah. So you can do all of this in social media. You can write 1,000 stories, but the thing that powers all of these narratives the most is when a very influential, real human being uses those narratives and advances them.
All right. And it's not just human beings, it's news organizations, or we can put news in quotes here. I want to single out two in particular. They seem to be the launching pad for this specific conspiracy.
That's right. There are 4 attributes you look for in terms of spreading some sort of propaganda. 1, be there first. 2, repeat it over and over and over again. The human mind actually can't resist repetition. 3, it's got to come from a trusted source. These are trusted sources for certain audiences. Yeah. And then block out all rebuttals. And so if you can narrow people in, if you can say these are fake news and these are not, you can put people in an information cocoon that they can't escape from.
And then, of course, if you do push back and you don't have the facts, then you can do this. Let's go to the next slide. Just simply ask questions. Oh, what is going on? We're not really sure what the deal is. Well, maybe where are those servers, Clint? You know, I've never seen them. You know, why aren't they looking at that? So, you know what? Why didn't the FBI go into the DNC offices? Right, and here we are.
You can make lies faster than you can refute them. And so if you're a propagandist, you know that. Just continue to ask questions, question more. Also, the motto of a certain Russian state-sponsored outlet is exhaust the audience with so many possibilities you can't know the truth, and the audience will walk away.
2 facts I want to make sure we get out here. Fact number 1, as of November of this year, the NRCC, which is the Republican campaign arm for House races, used Crowdstrike to protect the constant contract. And you said this is a Russian effort to sort of smear Crowdstrike specifically. Why?
If Russia can disable Crowdstrike, if they can take away their customer base, or if they can continue to make people say you don't believe what Crowdstrike is doing and saying or providing evidence for, they're actually taking away one of their opponents, and they're using the American target audience to do that.
Clint Watts, this is amazing what the world that we have to live in now and have to figure out. Thanks for helping us sort.
Thanks for having me.